Good afternoon. I'm David Lee, and on behalf of the University Centennial Committee, I'm delighted to welcome all of you to the inaugural ceremonies of the Western Kentucky University Centennial. It's Founders Week, and Founders Week was established by the Board of Regents about 1931 or so, partly in conjunction with Henry Hardin Cherry's birthday, which was November the 16th, 1864. The board decreed that ever hereafter the institution would recognize Founders Week, and we're kind of picking up with that tradition here this afternoon. On a cold February day, nearly 100 years ago, the faculty, staff, and students of Western Kentucky State Normal School came tramping up Vinegar Hill, literally lugging all the school's worldly possessions with them. They were headed for Van Meter Hall. Van Meter wasn't quite finished, but Henry Hardin Cherry just couldn't contain himself any longer. Patience has rarely been a virtue for Western's presidents. Cherry and his associates packed everything up, held a final nostalgic chapel service in their old quarters, and set out striding purposefully up the steep slope. Cherry and the school that he had wrung from a reluctant Kentucky General Assembly were eager for the future. In many ways, it was a signature moment for the fledgling institution. The members of the Western community grabbed the school by its bootstraps and literally yanked it up the hill and into the future. So it seems fitting here at the highest part of the hill, the oldest part of the campus, that those of us who are heirs to that legacy should gather to mark this achievement. The dedication of the Guthrie Overlook is a wonderful starting point for our celebration. It marks a generous gift from a family that has given generously to this community. It's a gift that reminds us of one of the core values of American higher education, the concept of service to a wider public. And it reminds us, too, that literally from our earliest days, this community and this university have nourished each other from a common taproot of faith in our shared future. Joe Servant, member of our English department, is someone who has thought seriously and creatively about our Commonwealth. He's finishing his third book of poems, comprising a Kentucky trilogy, and he's just completed a term as Kentucky's Poet Laureate. Joe's graciously agreed to write a poem for the University Centennial, and I'd like to invite Joe to share that with you now. Joe?
Well, this was not easy to write. So I thought about it for a long time before I actually sat down and began writing, and I think it came fairly easily. And so maybe there's just a point that things have to percolate for a while before they come out, because you're trying to, please yourself as a writer, and also aware of the fact that it's a public occasion and that you have to be more conscious of your audience than poets sometimes are. I use two names in here that may not be familiar to everyone. Joseph Drake and Henry Skaggs were among the first European explorers, fur traders, to see this part of the country. The title is obviously At the Overlook. Wandering in the woods of 1770, Skaggs and Drake stopped just here, measuring where they were against the sun and hill, then hid from mindless heat under that elm, now by Cherry Hall. Chewing their cold meat, they could not know how the stone they sat on would be bent. Now, at the Overlook, the sun makes its red mark on the walls of the dripping springs. Below, a thin fog spreads the rumor of coming cold. Late classes are ending, and students scatter like schools of minnows startled in a stream. Gordon Wilson's limestone absorbs the sun until it reaches the early pink of metal coils, first flushed by a rising pulse of heat. The stone trenches behind Van Meter darken as the buildings glow. The students have dwindled down to 3, waiting impatiently for rides. They do not see what is happening to the rock around them. The professor's voice is fading. They do not heed the warning on Gordon Wilson's frieze, Milton, Goethe, Keats, Burns. They are anxious to re-enter their lives. They do not yet know what they are part of. People and days stretched behind like cairns for 100 years. The 3 old buildings bob on the hill's crest, heavy with the century's ballast. But Van Meter's prow pushes through the waves of darkness as they rise. The time that follows now.
Paul Hundorp is the Director of Choral Activities in the Department of Music here at Western. He's new to Kentucky, and he's a great example of the kind of talented people that a university can bring to a community. Paul and the WKU Chamber Singers have prepared 2 selections for us. One's a traditional Kentucky song, and the other is a song of celebration from another part of the world.
Quangena tinabo wemame, Quatulamoya,
Quangena tinabo wembame, Quatulamoya, Quangena tinabo wembame, Quatulamoya, Quangena tinabo wembame, Quatulamoya, Quangena tina boy, Quatulamoya, Quan Gena tina boy, Quatulamoya, Wahili says Quatulamoya, Wahili says Quatulamoya, Wahili says Quatulamoya, Wahili says Quatulamoya, Quan Gena tina boy, 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 Quatulamoya. Shoshaloza, Ulai Santana, Bastinela, Samunde, South Africa. Shoshaloza, Ulai Santana, Bastinela, Samunde, South Africa. When you yabalea, Ulai Santana, Bastinela, Samunde, South Africa. When you yabalea, Ulai Santana, Bastinela, Samunde, South Africa. When you yabalea, Ulai Santana, Sindela, Sabunde, South Africa.
Paul Hondorf and the WKU Chamber Singers. It's a little sample of why I really enjoy working with the music department here at Western. I'm quite sure that if Henry Hardin Cherry had ever met Gary Ransdell, he would have said something like, "I believe I can put that young man to work." It's my pleasure to introduce President Cherry's 8th successor, Gary Ransdell.
Thank you, David, very much. Paul, Joe, spectacular, both of you. And now you see why our faculty is so distinguished across this nation and why our students are achieving a level of distinguishment never before achieved by this university, and I'm proud to be a part of it. What a special moment to be part of something so important in the life of an institution, to celebrate 100 years of history and to anticipate the next 100 years, knowing what a rich history we have enjoyed and what a rich future we have to look forward to. I'm proud to be part of a university with such a strong tradition, such values, and such character that have been shaped by the people who have been part of our first century of service to the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And no matter how much our vision might entail or how bold we might look to the future as we attempt to become a leading American university with an international reach, we always know that our heart is here in Kentucky and our primary responsibility is service to this Commonwealth. And with that, I'd like to introduce the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Jordy Richards, who is always at important events at Western Kentucky University. Mr. Speaker. It's also a pleasure to introduce to you two groups that are assembled here today that have served this institution well for a long time and are serving it well today. And first, I'd like to introduce, we have 9 living past chairs, former chairs of our Board of Regents. Out of all the men and women who have served our board as chair. 9 are living today, and they are here today. And I'd like for the past chairs, the former chairs of our Board of Regents, to please stand or wave your hand to be recognized. Thank all of you for your service to Western. It's also a deep honor to introduce one of my predecessors, the 4th president of Western Kentucky University, Dr. Dero Downing. Dero. Lowell Guthrie. Lowell Guthrie is a 25-year vet of the Ford Motor Company. Lowell founded Trace Diecast in 1988. Trace measures aluminum die-cast components that are used in the automotive, lawn and garden, and appliance industries. Trace's products are shipped throughout the continental United States, Canada, and Mexico, and the Bowling Green Area Chamber of Commerce named Trace Die-Cast the 1997 Industry of the Year. Mr. Guthrie is a graduate of the University of North Alabama and was honored by his alma mater just this year, 2005, by being named that institution's Alumnus of the Year. Lowell and Carolyn have 4 sons and 8 grandchildren. And if there's a family that knows the value of family in our community, it's the Guthrie family. The oldest son is Greg Guthrie. The second oldest son is Brett Guthrie, and his wife is Beth Guthrie, and their children are Caroline, Robert, and Elizabeth. If the Brett Guthrie family would please stand, let's recognize you. The third oldest son is Chris Guthrie. His wife is Nicole Guthrie, and their children are Ben, Peter, and John. The fourth son is Kent Guthrie. His wife is Kathy, and their children are Sarah and Michael. In October 1999, Trace Diecast and the Guthrie family committed over $2 million to this university to fund the construction of a courtyard and a bell tower in the heart of the WKU campus. The bell tower was in memory of Lowell's brother, Sergeant First Class Robert Guthrie, who was killed in the Korean War. The courtyard near the tower is in honor of Carolyn Guthrie. Annual gifts in excess of some $50,000 are given on an annual basis by Lowell and Carolyn to support a range of scholarships for students attending Western Kentucky University. Recently, the Guthrie family committed $1.1 million to this Guthrie Overlook, which is complete behind us, and an arboretum, which we built in the years ahead, which will spread from the pylon as you enter the campus to the administration building through this crescent that braces this overlook. In honor of the Guthrie family, Alliance Corporation has made a $40,000 contribution to the project, and Alliance President Tommy Gum and his wife Tish have contributed $10,000 personally. Alliance Corporation is the contractor for this project. Tommy, if you and Tish will please stand. The project manager for this project for Western Kentucky University was Danny Simpson, and the landscape architect was Joe Hudson of Hudson Douglas out of Nashville, Tennessee. I see Joe, and Danny, where are you? Danny Simpson? There you go. Great work, gentlemen, both of you. Moments like this are very special, and we have long known that we cannot be a leading American university by any stretch of the imagination by ourselves. It takes partnerships. It takes people who are willing to invest, and it takes people who have the vision and the capacity and the heart to make special places like this exist. And particularly when you get outside the academic heart of the university, it's difficult for most institutions to find ways to create places like this, particularly when a campus is so yearning for its architectural features and its natural surroundings. And through the generosity of the Guthrie family and our friends at Trace Diecast, we now have rebuilt this overlook. And what a vista it is to be sitting where you're sitting and to look across Warren County. And actually, I'm kind of glad that Founders Week is in November and we waited till the leaves were gone so that you would have the opportunity to see what those pioneers saw from this vantage point and what Dr. Cherry and friends and colleagues that were part of this university in the early part of our first century saw and felt and witnessed. And what a special privilege it is for us in 2005 to have the opportunity to share in this moment, to rededicate this overlook, a special place on a very special campus. And I trust that there will be many proposals and many courtships and many families defined by special moments that take place at this very spot for our second 100 years, just as there has been in our first 100 years. So I would like for all of the Guthrie family grandkids, to stand once more and let us thank all of them for what they have done to make this campus so very special. By actions taken today, just this morning, by the WKU Board of Regents, this recently completed overlook and the arboretum, which will be created in the years ahead, will forever from this day forward be known as the Guthrie Family Overlook and Arboretum. And what a special spot it already is and will become in the future. And thank you very much to all the Guthrie family for what you've meant to make this possible. In response to the family, for the family, it is my distinct pleasure to call on the Honorable Brett Guthrie, State Senator for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, to bring a response on behalf of the Guthrie family and the Trace Diecast family. Brett?
When I was preparing or thinking about what I wanted to say today, I thought it'd be about 30 degrees. So I thought I'd be brief. But now that it's nice weather, I've been told to be brief anyway, so I will. But I want to say how much we appreciate so many of you being here and how nice it is to be here and how important this is for this community to have this kind of overlook. We're just proud to be able to participate in it and proud to be part of it. And just to let you know, a few years ago, my father was in Chicago, had lost his job at Ford, and was looking for a place to start his business, and he was driving to Alabama, which is our hometown. And his cousin Bill Guthrie is here with his wife, with Pat, and his daughter Maria. If they'll stand, they're part of the Guthrie family. Bill worked with the area development district and encouraged my father to stop. He said, at least stop and see Pat and I, and maybe we'll arrange some meetings, and maybe this is where he had a dream of starting a business. And somehow they met with Donna Harmon, who's here, and her late mentor, Tommy Cole, who's was a dear friend of all of us, and started thinking about how can we make this happen. And I'm not sure at what point they realized that he had lost his job recently, didn't have any money, but eventually he said, we can still make this work. And one of the great pieces to the puzzle, as he got a lot of things together, but what he couldn't get was a building. He was very difficult getting the building constructed, and met with a lot of different people. And when he met with Tommy Gum, and they shook hands, he says, I like you, you're a friend, this is how people do business, and shook hands. They've been great partners in business ever since. So Tommy and Tish, we appreciate you guys so much, because Trace wouldn't be here if you hadn't had that leap of faith when that went forward, and we appreciate that very, very much. One of the heritages that my children have, I think, is so neat that kind of spans both of this. Just a quick story. My wife's grandfather always carried around a buckeye with him for good luck, and he always challenged for good luck. And when I heard that story, I said, well, that's a neat thing. My kids need to have a buckeye. So I started searching all over Bowling Green, and we're not Ohio, so it's hard to find a buckeye. But right there's a buckeye tree. And what I found is that Julie Ransdell liked to collect buckeyes too, because I had to beat the squirrels or Julie every year to get to the buckeyes. And I just scrounged around a few minutes ago, and I think I found the last one that's still sitting there. But when I first started coming here looking for buckeyes, I noticed how kind of difficult it was to walk around, because the steps would slide, the steps would move, you might fall as you were walking around here. And remember when they first talked about doing this, oh, that's where the Buckeye tree is. That would be a wonderful place to really revitalize it and make it special. And so, put my Buckeye back here, and for good luck, right, Gary? Gary carries one too, don't you?
Yeah.
And so we came here a couple of weeks ago, and we're looking at the work, and the leaves were here a couple of weeks ago, and I'll tell you, it couldn't have been prettier. It was just absolutely beautiful with the Catholic Church steeple sticking forward. So I think this is going to be a great place for people to spend time and to look at the beauty of Bowling Green. And some people ask a lot of times, is it spending money on architecture? How important is that? I think it's extremely important for a great university to have great architecture. I think if you look at all of the universities that are known throughout the world, their campuses are wonderful places to be. And private money has to do this. The speakers here with me today are here today, and you can see evidence of public money throughout this campus, and evidence of public money since the speaker's been speaker. You can look at, and I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not, I suspect that it does. But the engineering building, the Media and Technology Center, which is one of the best in the world, I mean, that's what the state taxpayers need to spend their money for this university. But if there's opportunities for people to give privately and to make the campus special, that's important to do. And I'll tell you, the speaker will say this, will confirm this. He hears this in Frankfurt all the time. Is what's going on in Frankfurt? Every time we drive by, things just look better and better every time. So the campus beauty is leading as a part of academic excellence, as part of attracting students. It's part of making this community better because Western is better. And I wish my father liked to get up and speak, because he doesn't like to do that. But when he won Alumni of the Year of his university, he had to speak because I couldn't substitute for him because I didn't go to the university. And as we're sitting there, he got up, and his speech to his university was, because I'm from a place where the president of university, or the chancellor of university, where the university is making a difference. The university and the community is working together to make the place where my business is, paraphrasing what he said, where I operate my business, one of the best economic places to be in the world. Because I'm competing with China, with India, with everywhere in the world from Bowling Green, Kentucky. And he challenged the university that he was an alumni from. The board was there, the president was there, and a lot of prominent alumni. He says, if you want this city to be great again, the city where we're from, he goes, it's going to take the university getting involved. And we appreciate what you've done. We appreciate being a part of it. And I was going to introduce my brothers and so forth that you've done that. And we're just really proud to be residents of Bowling Green, to be citizens of Bowling Green. As I said, you mentioned North Alabama. I was introducing people earlier of our family at a luncheon, and I said that most of us were born in Alabama. We were smart enough to ensure that our children were born in Kentucky.
President Downing, I know in your pocket you've got one of these. I happen to have 2 Buckeyes in my pocket today because it's an important day. There you go. You're the man. And they were gathered under that. There's 2 Buckeye trees. Actually, there's 2 right there together. So, and you're right. You're going to have to beat Julie to them. So, I wish you could stand where I'm standing now, where we're sitting now, and look at yourself. You look across this gathering, you see students, you see young people, you see alumni, you see city fathers, you see mothers, you see grandmothers, you see legislators, you see people who have helped define this university's past, Clem Haskins and so many others who are here. What a wonderful sight it is to see this family looking across our community in the manner in which you are posed right now. I wish there could be a portrait, and I hope somebody gets back here and takes a shot looking at you, because this is the Western Kentucky University family, from faculty and staff and administration to students to alumni to friends to people who make this community what Brett described it to be. It's a special moment. I want to do 2 things right now. First, I want to unveil what I believe is the Arboretum that you will have a chance to watch unfold over the next couple of years. Actually, it's the Overlook itself. This was the architect's rendering of the Overlook itself that the contractors worked from. And as I said, the Arboretum will sweep from corner to corner of this ellipse. But the thing that I want to do next is really pretty cool, and I'm not entirely sure the point from which this will occur, but I've never been in a position to say, let there be water before, but can we have some water? We hope. There we go. Dean Lee, you're going to have to talk over the noise here. You can do it.
As an old Ohio State guy, I really like all this talk about Buckeyes. I can't say I expected it, but it is Michigan Day. In closing, the Guthrie family overlook, as Senator Guthrie has said, as President Ransel has said, marks a special part of our heritage. Even before Cherry and his associates arrived, young women of Potter College studied here, and African-American Civil War soldiers worked here to build a fort. There's no better place for us to celebrate our heritage while we stride toward our future. I need to say a few words of thanks in closing. The members of the Centennial Committee, some 30 strong, have worked very hard on this for 2 years, and several of those folks are scattered around here. Would you all please stand up and let us acknowledge your hard work? And not only acknowledge, but encourage, because there's still a lot more to be done in terms of the University Centennial. This is the kickoff, not the wrap-up. And one other person I need to acknowledge in terms of the Centennial is Janie Pulaski. I could go on and on about what she does, but basically the Centennial would not work without her. Janie, where are you? Yeah, back there. And in anything I get involved with, I have to thank the staff of the Potter College Dean's Office, because anything I do, they seem to have to sweep up after me in some fashion. So I particularly want to thank Nina Dorner and Cindy Troutman and Tracy Rucker, who've done a whole bunch of extra chores to help me deal with this. The Centennial is sometimes about poetry, but sometimes it's also about parking. So a few logistics. I'd like to invite all of you to join us for our other events today. At 4 o'clock, we'll be down the hill dedicating the new Centennial Plaza between L.T. Smith Stadium and Diddle Arena. We'll be raising the new university flag for the first time. At 4:45, we'll unveil the new statue of Coach Diddle in front of Diddle Arena. Also, the United States Postal Service has prepared a special Centennial cancellation that will be available from the mobile postal unit in front of the Downing Center and later in the evening in Diddle Arena. Here's the key part. For these events, please park in parking structure number 1. Better known, I think, to most of us as the old parking structure. This evening, the Lady Toppers will be tipping it off with Louisiana Tech at 7 o'clock, and the University Jazz Band will be performing in the Capitol at 7:30. To close our ceremony here at the Guthrie Family Overlook and Arboretum, I'd like to invite Paul Hondorf and the chamber singers to come back and to lead us in singing the university's alma mater. Would you all please stand?
College heights on hilltop fair with beauty all thine own, lovely jewel far more rare than graces any throne. College heights we hail thee, we shall never fail thee, falter never. Hail, hail, business program.